shape moving just beneath the surface at the same time. Its back arched long and glistening, and then a second shape rose beside it. Each figure stretched at least 30 feet. Both witnesses gave identical accounts without any prompting. In 1987, a woman named Vera Collier was boating on the lake when the water around her vessel began to shift. Dark masses appeared beneath her, and her boat rocked violently, as though something large was pushing upward from below. Terrified, she raced back to shore and told her story to neighbors who were not at all surprised. Then in 1988, 17 people standing on the shoreline simultaneously witnessed enormous creatures breaking the surface. The animals moved with deliberate strength, some gliding in pairs, others circling. Witnesses estimated their lengths between 25 and 40 feet. That many people describing the same event at the same moment was difficult for even committed skeptics to dismiss as imagination or a trick of light. These years built a strange momentum. Stories were no longer isolated incidents. They were supported by multiple witnesses, some of them trained observers, and in several cases documented in official reports. Pilots filed statements. Fishermen spoke to local authorities. Photographs began to surface, though many were sealed away in government files or labeled inconclusive. In 1979, the Anchorage Daily News pushed the mystery into the national spotlight by offering a $100,000 reward for hard evidence of the Iliamna creature. The challenge was simple: bring proof, whether a photograph, a body, or anything capable of silencing the skeptics. The announcement drew professional hunters, amateur adventurers, and researchers from across the country. Submarines were lowered into the dark water, their lights cutting through only a fraction of the lake's vast interior. Sonar equipment scanned for moving shapes and returned readings that hinted at large bodies gliding far below. Hydrophones recorded strange, low, resonant sounds that did not match seals or fish. Fishermen brought back nets shredded by something powerful. Boats were found with hull damage that could not be explained by rocks or ice. Tooth marks were discovered on fishing gear, deep and wide, suggesting the bite of something far larger than any known freshwater species. Despite all of this, the hunt ended without the definitive proof it sought. Sonar images were blurry. Recordings were compelling, but could not be tied to a specific unknown animal. The physical damage was real, but without a captured creature, the cause remained open to debate. Years later, television host Jeremy Wade brought modern equipment to the same waters for his program River Monsters. He examined the possibilities of sleeper sharks, sturgeon, and other known species. Yet even with advanced technology, he admitted that the mystery of Iliamna remained unsolved. In recent decades, scientists have stepped forward with tools the earlier hunters could only dream of, and what they found only deepened the mystery. Biologist Bruce Wright proposed that the creatures could be giant sleeper sharks. These sharks grow beyond 20 feet, live for centuries, and thrive in cold, dark water. If they migrated into the lake through the Kvichak River, they would have an ideal habitat: deep water, abundant salmon, and almost no human disturbance. The theory is credible, but it does not account for all the evidence. Eyewitnesses describe animals stretching up to 60 feet. They describe metallic backs flashing in sunlight, something no known shark produces. The force described by fishermen who lost nets or found bent hooks seemed far beyond anything a sturgeon or shark could generate. Researchers then turned to environmental DNA, a method that detects genetic traces left behind in water samples. When samples from Lake Iliamna were analyzed, they contained salmon, seals, and other expected species, but also genetic sequences that did not match any cataloged fish in the existing database. The results hinted at the presence of an unknown species. Thermal imaging added another layer. Aircraft equipped with infrared cameras detected heat signatures moving just beneath the surface in multiple locations, signatures too large to come from salmon runs or small mammals. They resembled the size and shape of large marine predators appearing in a place where no such animal should exist. Even seismographs, instruments designed to measure earthquakes, picked up rhythmic disturbances in the lake that did not match ice breaking or weather patterns. Disturbances consistent with large living bodies moving through water. Something has shifted in recent years. Sightings are happening more frequently, and the creatures appear becoming closer to the surface than they ever did before. Many believe the reason is climate change. Alaska is warming faster than almost any other region on Earth. Permafrost is melting, ice is breaking apart, and the lake's water temperatures are fluctuating in new ways. These changes may be forcing whatever lives in the depths upward toward warmer water. The salmon runs are also changing. For generations, the creature has been tied to the vast salmon migrations that fill the lake each summer. But warming waters are disrupting those migrations. Fish are arriving later, moving in smaller numbers and taking unfamiliar routes. If the Iliamna creatures depend on salmon as a primary food source, they may be following the fish closer to shore and crossing paths with humans far more often than before. At the same time, people are pushing further into Iliamna territory. More boats, more tourism, and more technology means the lake is under observation as never before. Drones sweep across the water, recording footage from above. Satellite images are checked for surface disturbances. Sonar scans the depths with a precision not previously possible. In 2019, drone operators captured footage of dark, shifting shape gliding beneath the waves, too long and thick to be a seal, too smooth to be a school of fish. Satellite images have revealed wakes and ripples in areas where no boats were present. Sonar crews have recorded large moving masses that appear and disappear without warning. The world around Lake Iliamna is changing, and whatever has been hiding. Deep in the heart of Alaska lies a lake that holds more than just water. It holds fear, mystery, and if the stories are to be believed, something monstrous. Lake Iliamna is a body of water so vast it resembles an inland sea, stretching nearly 80 miles long and 25 miles wide. You could drop the entire city of Los Angeles into it and still have room to spare. But it is not the sheer scale of the lake that unsettles people. It is what those who live closest to it believe is hiding beneath the surface. The lake sits in one of the most remote corners of Alaska, with no highways leading to it and no cities lining its shores. Most people will never see it in person. That isolation has allowed something strange to persist, unseen and largely undisturbed, for centuries. What makes it even more compelling is that Lake Iliamna is not completely cut off from the ocean. The Kvichak River flows from the lake all the way to Bristol Bay and the Bering Sea, meaning ocean creatures have a natural pathway into its waters. Locals have spotted seals swimming in the lake. Beluga whales have been seen miles inland. If creatures like those can adapt to fresh water and thrive here, the question becomes unsettling. What else might have made the journey? Below the surface, the lake is layered. Warm water sits on top, while colder, denser water lies beneath, separated by what scientists call a thermocline. Below the divide, sonar signals weaken, and light disappears entirely. Visibility drops to almost nothing. An animal could hover 30 feet beneath your boat, and you would never detect it. The lake also plunges more than 1,000 feet in certain areas, deep enough to hide something the size of a bus with ease. Fishermen have long said the lake swallows things thrown into it. Now it seems the lake might be swallowing people too. Long before modern investigators arrived with cameras and sonar equipment, the indigenous people who lived beside Lake Iliamna already knew something lived in its depths. Their knowledge was not speculation. It was passed down through generations of direct observation, preserved in legends, carvings, songs, and solemn warnings. The Tlingit people spoke of a creature called Gunakadite, a powerful animal said to rise from the water with enough force to overturn canoes and drag men under. This was not a story told for entertainment. Elders used it as a survival guide. When the water turned dark or rippled without wind, people were told to leave immediately. Those who ignored the warning often did not return. Farther west, the Aleut people described creatures they called Jig-Nook, remembered as hunters that moved in groups, circling boats and striking from below. Fishermen were warned never to travel alone and to watch for sudden changes in the lake's surface. These animals, according to the oral histories, were powerful enough to break wooden vessels apart. These warnings were preserved in totem carvings that depicted long bodies and sharp fins. Ceremonial songs described the movements of predators beneath the water. Every detail served a purpose, reminding people that while the lake gave life through its salmon runs, it could also take life without warning. When Russian fur traders arrived in Alaska during the 1700s, focused on a wealth of sea otter pelts, they initially dismissed indigenous warnings as superstition, but their own journals told a different story. Entries described boats struck by unseen forces, men pulled from the water, and bodies never recovered. As incidents accumulated, the old stories began to carry new weight. One recurring detail is striking. Both the indigenous accounts and the Russian records describe creatures with bodies that gleam like metal under sunlight, moving in groups and attacking without mercy. These details survived across languages, cultures, and centuries, and they match what witnesses continue to describe today. The modern chapter of the Lake Iliamna mystery arguably began in the summer of 1942, when a Bush pilot named Babe Allsworth flew over the lake with Bill Hammersley, a government wildlife agent. Both men expected a routine flight. What they saw instead became one of the most famous encounters in Alaskan history. As the plane crossed the water, Allsworth noticed shapes beneath the surface. At first, he thought they were logs drifting with the current, but as the plane banked and the angle changed, the shapes moved. They were alive. Hammersley pressed closer to the window, and together the two men counted more than a dozen creatures gliding beneath them in a loose formation, moving with purpose. Not scattered like fish, but coordinated like a group with a destination. Allsworth later described the animals as metallic-looking, each nearly as long as his plane's wingspan. Their backs shimmer in the sunlight like polished steel. For a man who had spent years flying over rivers and lakes across Alaska, it was unlike anything he had ever witnessed. When they landed, neither man could stay quiet about it. Hammersley's reputation as a level-headed government official gave the account real credibility, and the story spread far beyond the remote villages of the region. Among those who took notice was Tom Slick, a wealthy Texas oil man with a passion for cryptozoology, the study of unknown animals. Slick funded expeditions to the lake, his teams interviewing witnesses and studying the geography. One story from that period claims a steel fishing hook the size of a man's arm was bent completely out of shape, as if something with enormous strength had pulled against it from below. The 1942 sighting became the cornerstone of modern investigation into the Iliamna creature. It shifted the mystery from folklore into something that demanded serious attention. By the 1970s, sightings had moved beyond individual accounts and were being reported by groups of credible observers. In 1977, pilot Tim Leoport was flying over the lake with an investigator who had come specifically to study the Iliamna mystery. Both men saw massive,